11-year-old Sophie Pierce pressed her face against the cold window of her father's mansion, watching the most heartbreaking sight she had ever seen. Outside the tall iron gates, a skinny boy around her age moved his body to music only he could hear. His clothes were torn and dirty, his shoes had holes, but his dancing was beautiful. Sophie's wheelchair felt heavier as she watched him spin and jump with legs that worked perfectly. Her father, billionaire Jonathan Pierce, stood behind her with tears in his eyes. For 2 years, since the car accident that took Sophie's ability to walk, he had tried everything. The best doctors, the most expensive treatments, the latest technology. Nothing worked. His daughter, once a ballet dancer full of life, now spent her days staring out windows. "Daddy, why does he dance out there every day?" Sophie asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jonathan's heart broke a little more. "I don't know, sweetheart." But he was about to find out. This morning, something was different. The boy wasn't just dancing. He was looking directly at Sophie through the window, and his movements seemed like a message. A message of hope, maybe. Or maybe just two children recognizing each other's pain. The boy's name was Tyler Washington, and he had been dancing outside the Pierce mansion for 3 weeks. His little sister was sick, and his mother worked 2 jobs just to pay for her medicine. Tyler had heard that rich people sometimes helped others, so he came here every day, dancing his heart out, hoping someone would notice. Jonathan made a decision that would change all their lives. He walked to the front door. Do you believe that sometimes strangers can change our entire world with just one act of kindness? If this story touches your heart, please subscribe to see how this incredible journey unfolds. Outside, Tyler was finishing his routine when he saw the tall man in an expensive suit walking toward him. He had never been this close to the mansion before. His heart pounded as the man approached the gate. "Son," Jonathan called out through the iron bars. "What's your name?" Tyler stopped dancing and stood straight. "Tyler Washington, sir." "Why do you dance here every day, Tyler?" The boy looked up at the window where Sophie watched. "For her, sir. And for my little sister. She's sick, and my mama says sometimes miracles happen when you believe hard enough." Jonathan felt something stir in his chest, something that had been dead since Sophie's accident. "Hope. Would you like to meet my daughter?" Jonathan asked. Tyler's eyes grew wide. "Really? She can see me dance? She's been watching you every day for 3 weeks." As Jonathan opened the gate, he had no idea that this moment would bring not only healing to his daughter, but love to his own heart through the beautiful woman who cared for Sophie every day. Sophie pressed harder against the window as she watched her father talking to the dancing boy. For the first time in 2 years, she felt excited about something. The boy was coming inside. Finally, she might have a friend who understood what it meant to dream of dancing when the world seemed impossible. Tyler had never seen anything so beautiful as the inside of the Pierce mansion. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and marble floors stretched in every direction. But the most wonderful sight was the girl in the wheelchair who smiled at him from across the huge living room. "Hi," Sophie said quietly. "I'm Sophie. I watch you dance every day. I'm Tyler. I dance for you because you look sad like my sister." Jonathan watched from the doorway as his daughter's face lit up for the first time in months. This was exactly what he had hoped for, but he knew there was more to Tyler's story. "Tell me about your sister, Tyler," Jonathan said, sitting down in a chair across from the children. Tyler's smile faded a little. "Her name is Destiny. She's 8. She has something wrong with her heart, and the doctors say she needs an operation. But it costs a lot of money, and my mama can't afford it." "Where do you live?" Jonathan asked gently. "In a small apartment downtown. My mama works at 2 restaurants, and I take care of Destiny when she's working. That's why I come here during the day, when Destiny is at school." Sophie wheeled her chair closer to Tyler. "Is that why you dance? To help your sister?" Tyler nodded. "I heard that rich people sometimes help others, so I thought if I danced good enough, maybe someone would notice." Jonathan felt his heart expand. This boy had been dancing not for himself, but for his sick sister. Just like Jonathan would do anything for Sophie. "Tyler, I want to help your sister," Jonathan said. "Will you let me?" Tyler's eyes filled with tears. You would do that? Really? Yes, but I want something in return. Tyler straightened up, ready to do anything. I want you to be Sophie's friend. She needs someone who understands about being strong when things are hard. I would love that, Tyler said, looking at Sophie. Sophie clapped her hands together, the first time she had shown pure joy since her accident. Just then, a soft voice came from behind them. Mr. Pierce, is everything all right? I heard voices. Jonathan turned to see Ebony Johnson, Sophie's caregiver, standing in the doorway. Her beautiful dark skin glowed in the afternoon light, and her kind eyes immediately took in the scene. She had been caring for Sophie for 6 months, and Jonathan had grown to depend on her gentle way with his daughter. Ebony, I'd like you to meet Tyler. He's going to be Sophie's friend. Ebony smiled warmly at Tyler. It's nice to meet you, Tyler. Sophie has been talking about the boy who dances outside. I'm glad you two finally got to meet. Miss Ebony helps me with my exercises, Sophie explained to Tyler. She makes everything fun. Tyler looked between Sophie and Ebony. Do the exercises help you walk? We're working on it, Ebony said kindly. Sophie is very strong. Jonathan watched Ebony interact with Tyler and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not just gratitude for her care of Sophie, but something deeper. Something that scared and excited him at the same time. Tyler, would you like to stay for lunch? Ebony asked. I was just about to make Sophie's favorite sandwich. Tyler looked at Jonathan, who nodded. I'd like that very much, Miss Ebony. As they moved toward the kitchen, Sophie rolling alongside Tyler, Jonathan found himself walking next to Ebony. Her presence was calming, like everything would be all right as long as she was there. That was a beautiful thing you did, Ebony said quietly, inviting him in. He's been dancing for her every day. I couldn't ignore that. And his sister's heart condition? I'll take care of it, Jonathan said without hesitation. No child should suffer because of money. Ebony looked at him with something that might have been admiration. Sophie is lucky to have you as a father. Jonathan felt his cheeks warm. Coming from her, that compliment meant everything. Ebony Johnson had seen many wealthy families during her years as a private caregiver, but the Pierce family was different. She had taken the job 6 months ago because she needed the money for her own education, planning to become a pediatric therapist. But staying had become about more than money. Watching Jonathan with Sophie showed her a side of wealth she had never seen. He wasn't just throwing money at problems. He genuinely cared, and his pain over Sophie's condition was real and deep. Miss Ebony, can Tyler come every day? Sophie asked as they sat around the kitchen table eating lunch. That's up to your father and Tyler's mother, Ebony replied. But I think it would be wonderful for you to have a friend. Tyler looked nervous. My mama might say no. She doesn't want me bothering rich people. Jonathan set down his coffee cup. Tyler, would you like me to meet your mother? I can explain that you're helping Sophie as much as she's helping you. You would do that? Tyler asked, his eyes wide. Of course. In fact, why don't we go this afternoon? I'd like to meet Destiny too. Ebony watched the interaction with growing admiration. Most wealthy men would have just sent money or had an assistant handle everything. Jonathan wanted to meet Tyler's family personally. Can I come too? Sophie asked. Ebony saw the worry cross Jonathan's face. Sophie rarely left the house anymore, afraid of how people would look at her wheelchair. I think that's a great idea, Ebony said gently. Tyler's sister would probably love to meet you. Jonathan looked at her gratefully. Ebony always seemed to know exactly what Sophie needed to hear. Yes, sweetheart. We'll all go together. After lunch, they prepared for the trip to Tyler's home. Ebony helped Sophie into the car while Jonathan made sure Tyler was comfortable. She noticed how naturally Jonathan took care of everyone around him, from his daughter to Tyler to even her. Miss Ebony, Sophie said as they drove through the city, do you think Destiny will like me even though I can't walk? Sophie, sweetness doesn't come from what your body can do. It comes from what your heart can do. And your heart is beautiful. In the front seat, Jonathan listened to Ebony's words. She had a way of making everything sound simple and true. Over the past 6 months, he had come to rely on her wisdom almost as much as Sophie did. Don't you think some people are just born to heal others with their words? If Ebony's kindness is touching your heart, please subscribe and comment below about a time someone's words changed your perspective. Tyler directed them to a small apartment building in a neighborhood Jonathan had never visited. The building was old but clean, and Tyler led them up 2 flights of stairs to apartment 3B. "Mama, I'm home," Tyler called as he opened the door. "And I brought some friends." A tired-looking woman in a waitress uniform appeared from the kitchen. She was beautiful, with the same kind eyes as Tyler, but Jonathan could see the weight of worry on her shoulders. "Tyler, baby, what did you do?" she asked, seeing the well-dressed strangers in her living room. "Nothing bad, Mama. This is Sophie and her daddy, Mr. Pierce. And this is Miss Ebony. Mr. Pierce wants to help Destiny." Tyler's mother, Angela Washington, looked suspiciously at Jonathan. "We don't take charity, sir." "It's not charity, Mrs. Washington. Tyler has been helping my daughter. I'd like to return the favor." Before Angela could respond, a small voice came from the bedroom. "Tyler. Who's here? Come meet them, Destiny." A tiny girl with pigtails and a bright smile appeared in the doorway. She looked fragile, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "This is my sister Destiny," Tyler said proudly. Sophie wheeled her chair forward. "Hi, Destiny. I'm Sophie." Destiny's eyes went to the wheelchair, but not with pity. With interest. "Does that go fast?" Sophie giggled. "Sometimes. Want to see?" As the 2 girls began to talk, Jonathan turned to Angela. "Mrs. Washington, I'd like to discuss your daughter's medical needs. I understand she needs heart surgery." Angela's walls went up immediately. "We're managing fine, sir." Ebony stepped forward gently. "Mrs. Washington, I work with children who have medical challenges. Sometimes accepting help is the bravest thing a mother can do." Something in Ebony's voice, combined with the sight of Sophie and Destiny laughing together, softened Angela's resistance. "Why would you help us? You don't even know us." Jonathan watched Tyler push Sophie's wheelchair around the small living room while Destiny clapped with delight. "Because your son has been giving my daughter something I couldn't buy with all my money. Joy." Angela Washington sat at her small kitchen table across from Jonathan Pierce, Ebony, and a stack of medical bills that represented more money than she made in 2 years. The afternoon sunlight streamed through her clean but worn curtains, and she could hear her daughter Destiny laughing with Sophie in the living room. "Mrs. Washington," Jonathan said gently, "I've reviewed Destiny's medical reports with my private physician. The surgery she needs is available at Children's Hospital. I'd like to cover all the costs." Angela's hands trembled as she looked at the papers. "This is too much. I can't accept this." "Mama," Tyler said from the doorway, "remember what you always tell me? That when God sends angels, we don't turn them away." Ebony felt her heart squeeze at the wisdom coming from such a young boy. She watched Jonathan's face soften as he looked at Tyler. "Your son is right, Mrs. Washington. But I need you to understand something. This isn't charity. Tyler has been dancing outside my home for weeks, bringing joy to my daughter when nothing else could. This is me paying a debt." Angela looked at her son, then at Sophie, who was showing Destiny how the wheelchair's wheels worked. "Destiny, baby, come here." The little girl skipped over, slightly out of breath from the excitement. "Destiny, Mr. Pierce wants to help get your heart fixed. What do you think?" Destiny looked up at Jonathan with serious 8-year-old eyes. "Will it hurt?" "A little," Jonathan said honestly. "But afterward, you'll be able to run and play without getting tired. And Tyler won't have to dance in the cold anymore. Tyler can dance wherever he wants. In fact, I'd like him to dance at my house with Sophie." Destiny turned to her mother. "Mama, I want to be strong like Sophie. She's in a wheelchair, but she's not scared of anything." Angela felt tears building in her eyes. Her daughter had been weak for so long, she had forgotten how brave she could be. "If we say yes," Angela said slowly, "what do you expect from us?" "Just friendship," Jonathan replied. "Tyler and Sophie need each other. And honestly, You and Tyler have reminded me what's really important. Ebony watched the exchange with growing admiration for Jonathan. She had worked for wealthy families who helped others to feel good about themselves, but this was different. This was genuine care. Mrs. Washington, Ebony said softly, I'll be with Sophie during Destiny's surgery. The children can support each other through this. Angela looked at Ebony's kind face and felt some of her fear dissolve. There was something trustworthy about this woman. Okay, Angela whispered. We accept your help. Tyler whooped with joy and ran to hug his mother. Sophie clapped her hands from her wheelchair, and Destiny danced in a circle. When can we start? Angela asked. I'll call the hospital today, Jonathan said. Dr. Martinez is the best pediatric heart surgeon in the state. Destiny will be in excellent hands. Have you ever been in a position where you had to choose between pride and your child's well-being? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more heartwarming stories of families coming together. Over the next hour, they discussed practical details. Jonathan would arrange for a car service to take Angela to and from the hospital. He would also ensure Tyler could continue visiting Sophie during his mother's work hours. Mr. Pierce, Angela said as they prepared to leave, how can I ever repay you? Let Tyler keep being Sophie's friend. That's payment enough. As they prepared to leave, Ebony helped Sophie back into her wheelchair while Jonathan spoke quietly with Tyler. Tyler, your dancing brought my daughter back to life. Don't ever stop believing in the power of joy. I won't, Mr. Pierce. And thank you for believing in us. On the drive home, Sophie was more animated than she had been in months. Daddy, when Destiny gets better, can we have a dance party? Of course, sweetheart. Ebony turned from the front seat. That sounds wonderful. Maybe we can set up a dance area in the main room. Jonathan caught Ebony's eyes in the rearview mirror. That's a great idea. You always know exactly what Sophie needs. Ebony felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. Working with the Pierce family was becoming more meaningful than she had expected. Jonathan was not just a wealthy man throwing money at problems. He was a father who genuinely cared, and his kindness extended far beyond his own family. Miss Ebony, Sophie said, you'll help Tyler learn how to dance with someone in a wheelchair, won't you? I'd love to, Sophie. As they pulled into the mansion's driveway, Jonathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. His house was about to become a home filled with laughter and friendship. And somehow, Ebony Johnson was becoming an essential part of that happiness. That evening, after Sophie was settled in bed, Jonathan found Ebony in the kitchen preparing Sophie's evening medications. Thank you, he said simply. For what? For making today possible. Sophie wouldn't have suggested visiting Tyler's family without your encouragement. Ebony looked up from the pill organizer. Sophie is braver than she knows. She just needed a reason to show it. And Tyler's mother trusted us because you were there. Mrs. Washington is a strong woman. She just needed to know we genuinely cared. Jonathan moved closer, drawn by her wisdom and gentle strength. How do you always know the right thing to say? I listen with my heart, not just my ears. In that moment, standing in the warm kitchen light, Jonathan realized his feelings for Ebony had grown far beyond professional appreciation. She had become the heart of his home. 3 weeks after Destiny's successful heart surgery, the Pierce mansion had transformed into something Jonathan barely recognized. Instead of the quiet, sad house it had been for 2 years, it now rang with laughter and music. Tyler visited every afternoon, and the friendship between him and Sophie had blossomed into something beautiful. 1, 2, 3, spin, Sophie called out from her wheelchair as Tyler danced around her in the main living room. Ebony had helped them clear space and installed a small sound system so they could practice together. Ebony watched from the doorway, her heart full as she saw Sophie's joy. The little girl had started participating in her physical therapy with new enthusiasm, motivated by her desire to dance with Tyler in whatever way she could. Miss Ebony, come dance with us, Tyler called. Oh no, I'm not much of a dancer, Ebony laughed. Please, Sophie added. You can push my chair while Tyler dances around us. Jonathan appeared behind Ebony, having just returned from the hospital where he had been visiting Destiny during her recovery. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Ebony felt her pulse quicken at Jonathan's presence. Over the past few weeks, their conversations had grown longer and more personal. She found herself looking forward to their discussions about the children, about life, about dreams. "How is Destiny today?" Sophie asked as Ebony gently pushed her wheelchair in rhythm with the music. "Much stronger," Jonathan replied, watching Tyler leap gracefully around them. "Dr. Martinez says she'll be able to go home in a few days. Can we have a welcome home party for her?" Sophie asked excitedly. "I think that's a perfect idea," Ebony said, spinning Sophie's chair carefully. Jonathan felt his breath catch as he watched Ebony move with natural grace, her face glowing with happiness as she played with Sophie. When had he started noticing how beautiful she was when she smiled? When had her presence become the thing he looked forward to most each day? "Mr. Pierce, you should dance too," Tyler said, slightly out of breath. "Oh, I don't think. Daddy used to dance with me before my accident," Sophie said quietly. "He's actually really good." The room went silent for a moment. Sophie rarely mentioned her life before the accident. Ebony moved closer to Jonathan. "Sophie's right. Dancing is good for the soul." Something in her voice gave him courage. Jonathan stepped into their circle, taking Sophie's hand while Tyler continued his routine around them. For the first time in 2 years, Jonathan let himself move to music, and it felt like coming back to life. "This is perfect," Sophie whispered, squeezing her father's hand. Tyler grinned and created a more elaborate routine that incorporated all of them. Soon they were all laughing and moving together, a family that wasn't quite a family but felt like one. When the song ended, they all collapsed into chairs, breathing hard and smiling. "I have an idea," Jonathan said. "What if we set up a permanent dance studio in the East Wing? Somewhere you and Tyler can practice every day." "Really?" Sophie's eyes lit up. "Really? And maybe Ebony could help you both learn some new moves." Ebony felt her heart skip. "I'd love that, but I should probably focus on Sophie's medical care." "Ebony," Jonathan said gently, "Sophie's medical needs are important, but so is her happiness. You help with both." Tyler looked between the adults with the perceptive eyes of a child who had grown up fast. "Are you going to be Sophie's new mom, Miss Ebony?" The question hung in the air like a note from a beautiful song. Sophie held her breath, Jonathan felt his cheeks redden, and Ebony's hands trembled slightly. "Tyler," Sophie said softly, "I'd like that very much." "Sophie," Ebony began, but Jonathan interrupted gently. "It's okay. He's just saying what we're all thinking." Ebony looked at Jonathan with surprise. "What do you mean?" "I mean that over these past few weeks, you've become more than Sophie's caregiver. You've become..." He paused, searching for the right words, "essential to our happiness." Sometimes the most important conversations happen when we least expect them. If this story is making you believe in unexpected love, please subscribe and tell us in the comments about a time when someone became essential to your happiness. Tyler, with the wisdom of a child who understood adult emotions better than most, quietly took Sophie's hand. "Come on, Sophie. Let's go see what's in the kitchen. I think the grown-ups need to talk." As the children left the room, Ebony and Jonathan found themselves alone for the first time since this whole journey began. "Jonathan," Ebony said softly, "I need you to know that everything I do for Sophie, I do because I care about her. Not because..." "Because what?" "Because I have feelings for you." The words hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Jonathan stepped closer. "And what if I have feelings for you?" Ebony's breath caught. "This is complicated. I work for you. Sophie depends on me. I can't risk." "Risk what?" "Risk Sophie's stability if this doesn't work out." Jonathan understood her concern. After everything Sophie had been through, her emotional security was paramount. "Ebony, what if we take this slowly? What if we see where these feelings lead without making any big changes? Sophie's happiness comes first for both of us." Ebony looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, not just attraction. "You really mean that?" "I've never meant anything more." From the kitchen came the sound of Sophie and Tyler laughing as they apparently raided the refrigerator. "They're good together," Ebony said. "So are we," Jonathan replied softly. That evening, After Tyler had gone home and Sophie was asleep, Ebony and Jonathan sat in the garden talking. The conversation flowed easily, from their childhoods to their dreams, from their fears to their hopes. "I never expected this," Ebony admitted. "What?" "To find a family when I was just looking for a job." Jonathan reached for her hand. "Stay. Not just as Sophie's caregiver, but as part of our family. It's too soon to know. Then we'll take the time to know. No pressure, no rushing. Just possibility." Ebony squeezed his hand. Possibility sounds perfect. Inside the house, Sophie lay awake, having heard their voices through her window. For the first time since her accident, she felt like her family might be complete again. And this time, it would include Tyler and his family too. 2 months later, the east wing of the Pierce mansion had been transformed into a beautiful dance studio. Mirrors lined one wall, a ballet bar ran along another, and the floor was perfect for both wheelchair movement and traditional dance. But the most important feature was the joy that filled the space every afternoon. "Okay, Sophie, remember what we practiced," Tyler said, positioning himself beside her wheelchair. "You move your arms like this while I do the footwork." Sophie concentrated intensely, moving her arms in graceful arcs while Tyler spun around her chair. They had been working on this routine for weeks, preparing for Destiny's welcome home celebration. Ebony watched from the corner where she spotted them during their more ambitious moves. Over the past month, her relationship with Jonathan had deepened slowly and naturally. They shared morning coffee before Sophie woke up, evening conversations after she was asleep, and stolen moments of hand-holding when the children were busy. "That was beautiful," Ebony called out as they finished their routine. "But Tyler, remember to give Sophie more time to complete her arm sequence before you start your next move." "Right," Tyler nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Sorry, Sophie. I get excited and go too fast." "It's okay. Let's try it again." Jonathan appeared in the doorway, carrying a large box. "What's in there, Daddy?" Sophie asked. "Costumes for tonight's performance. I thought you and Tyler might want to dress up for Destiny's party." Tyler's eyes grew wide as Jonathan opened the box to reveal a beautiful dance costume in his size, and a matching top for Sophie that would look elegant with her wheelchair. "These are for us," Tyler breathed. "If you want them." "They're perfect," Sophie said, running her fingers over the soft fabric. Ebony felt her heart squeeze as she watched Jonathan's thoughtfulness. He had been quietly doing things like this for weeks, always thinking of ways to make the children feel special. "There's something else," Jonathan said, pulling out a smaller box. "For our other dancers." He handed Ebony a beautiful flowing scarf that would complement her movements. "Jonathan, you didn't need to." "Yes, I did. You're part of this performance too." Tyler looked between them with a grin. "Mr. Pierce, are you going to marry Miss Ebony?" "Tyler," Sophie giggled, "you can't just ask that." "Why not? It's obvious they like each other." Jonathan and Ebony exchanged glances, both smiling at Tyler's directness. "Tyler," Jonathan said, "if I ever propose to Miss Ebony, you and Sophie will be the first to know." "Good," Tyler said matter-of-factly. "Because we need to plan the wedding dance. Don't you think children see love more clearly than adults sometimes?" If you're enjoying watching this family come together, please subscribe and comment about the most romantic gesture you've ever witnessed. That afternoon, they drove to the hospital to bring Destiny home. The little girl had made a remarkable recovery, and her energy was infectious as they helped her into the car. "Tyler, I learned a song while I was in the hospital," Destiny said excitedly. "The nurses taught me." "You can teach it to all of us," Sophie said from her wheelchair. "We're having a welcome home party for you." "Really? With dancing? The best dancing you've ever seen," Tyler promised. Back at the mansion, Angela Washington was waiting with tears in her eyes. The transformation in her daughter was miraculous, but beyond that, she had watched her son bloom into a confident, happy child through his friendship with Sophie. "Mrs. Washington," Jonathan said, "welcome to Destiny's party." The main living room had been decorated with balloons and streamers. A small table held Destiny's favorite foods, and the sound system was ready for dancing. "This is too much," Angela said, but her voice held gratitude rather than protest. "Mama," Destiny said, tugging on her mother's hand, "look how pretty everything is." As the party began, something magical happened. Tyler and Sophie performed their routine flawlessly, their synchronization perfect despite their different abilities. Destiny clapped and cheered, then insisted on joining them. Ebony helped facilitate a group dance where everyone could participate. Angela found herself laughing as Jonathan attempted to follow Tyler's more complex moves. Even Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper, joined in from the kitchen doorway. "Miss Ebony," Destiny said during a break, "Tyler told me you're going to be Sophie's new mom." "Destiny," Angela scolded gently, "that's not our business." "It's okay," Ebony said, kneeling down to Destiny's level. "Your brother asks a lot of questions. He says Mr. Pierce makes you smile different." Ebony glanced at Jonathan, who was helping Sophie adjust her costume. "Different how?" "Like how Mama smiles when she thinks we're not looking and she's watching us play." The innocence and wisdom of children never failed to amaze Ebony. "That's a very special kind of smile." "The love kind," Destiny said simply. As the evening continued, Ebony realized Destiny was right. Jonathan did make her smile differently. Not just with happiness, but with hope for a future she had never allowed herself to imagine. During the final group dance, Tyler spontaneously created a routine that included everyone. Sophie moved her wheelchair in patterns that complemented Tyler's leaps, Destiny added her own little spins, and the adults followed along with varying degrees of success. "This is perfect," Sophie announced as the music ended. "This is what families are supposed to feel like." Jonathan caught Ebony's eye across the room. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and love, he knew that Sophie was absolutely right. Later, after the Washington family had gone home, Jonathan found Ebony cleaning up in the kitchen. "You don't need to do that," he said, taking the dishes from her hands. "I want to help." "Ebony, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think we're moving too fast?" "With us, I mean." Ebony considered the question. "I think we're moving at exactly the right speed." "Why?" "Because I'm falling in love with you, and I want to make sure Sophie's ready for that." Ebony felt her heart skip. "I'm falling in love with you too. And I think Sophie's been ready longer than we have." Jonathan stepped closer, taking her hands. "Then maybe it's time we stopped worrying and started believing." "Believing in what?" "In this. In us. In the family we're becoming." Ebony looked toward the living room where Sophie's wheelchair sat surrounded by the remnants of a perfect party. "I'd like that very much." Spring brought new energy to the Pierce mansion. Sophie's physical therapy sessions had intensified, and her progress was remarkable. While she still couldn't walk, her upper body strength had improved dramatically, and her confidence was soaring. "Watch this, Miss Ebony," Sophie called from the dance studio. She was attempting a new routine Tyler had choreographed specifically for her wheelchair. Ebony watched in amazement as Sophie performed a series of arm movements and chair spins that looked almost like aerial ballet. Her grace and determination were breathtaking. "Sophie, that was incredible," Ebony said, applauding. "When did you learn to do that?" "Tyler taught me yesterday. He says my chair can fly just like his feet can." Tyler beamed with pride from the corner where he was stretching. "She's getting so good. Next week I want to teach her how to make the chair look like it's dancing on its own." Jonathan appeared in the doorway, his face glowing with pride and amazement. Over the past month, he and Ebony had grown closer, sharing quiet dinners after Sophie was asleep and long conversations about everything from their childhoods to their dreams for the future. "Sophie, you looked like a professional dancer," he said, entering the studio. "Do you really think so, Daddy?" "I know so. In fact, I have a surprise for you both." Tyler and Sophie exchanged excited glances. Jonathan's surprises were always wonderful. "Mrs. Washington and Destiny are coming for dinner tonight, and I've invited someone special to join us." "Who?" Sophie asked. "Mrs. Rodriguez, the director of the Community Youth Dance Program. She wants to meet you both." Tyler's eyes went wide. "The program that performs at the big theater downtown? That's the one. She's interested in starting an adaptive dance program, and I thought you two might be perfect ambassadors." Sophie's hands flew to her mouth. You mean we could perform on a real stage? If you want to, and if Mrs. Rodriguez thinks you're ready. Ebony felt tears prick her eyes as she watched Sophie's face transform with joy. This was exactly what the little girl needed, a chance to show the world what she could do, not what she couldn't do. Jonathan, that's wonderful, Ebony said softly. He moved closer to her, taking her hand naturally. Their relationship had evolved to the point where such gestures felt completely natural. I thought you might like it. You've been talking about Sophie needing bigger goals. Tyler was practically bouncing with excitement. Sophie, we need to practice our best routine. We need to be perfect. We will be, Sophie said with determination. Miss Ebony, will you help us? Of course, sweetness. Isn't it amazing how the right opportunity can transform someone's entire world? If this story is inspiring you to believe in dreams, please subscribe and share a time when someone believed in your potential. That evening, the dining room felt festive and warm. Angela and Destiny arrived dressed in their best clothes, both glowing with health and happiness. Destiny's recovery had been complete, and she was now an energetic 8-year-old who couldn't sit still. Mrs. Rodriguez arrived shortly after, a warm woman in her 50s with kind eyes and an immediate way with children. You must be Tyler and Sophie, she said, sitting down at their level. I've heard wonderful things about your dancing. Would you like to see our routine? Tyler asked eagerly. After dinner, Jonathan said gently. Let's eat first. The conversation flowed easily around the table. Mrs. Rodriguez asked thoughtful questions about their dancing, their friendship, and their dreams. Angela shared her gratitude for how the Pierce family had changed their lives, and Destiny entertained everyone with stories from her first week back at school. Miss Ebony, Destiny said during dessert, Tyler told me you and Mr. Pierce are getting married. Jonathan nearly choked on his coffee while Ebony's cheeks turned pink. Destiny, Angela scolded, we don't ask personal questions like that. It's okay, Ebony said gently. Tyler asks us that question about once a week. Mrs. Rodriguez smiled. Young love is beautiful to watch. Jonathan found his voice. We're taking things slowly, for Sophie's sake. Daddy, Sophie said quietly, you know I want Miss Ebony to be my real mom, right? The table went silent. Sophie had never been so direct about her feelings. Sweetheart, Jonathan began, but Sophie continued. I know you both think you're protecting me by waiting, but I'm not fragile. I want us to be a real family. Tyler nodded vigorously. And we want to be your family too. Me and Destiny and Mama. Mrs. Rodriguez watched the exchange with interest. It sounds like you all have already figured out what family means. Ebony felt her heart racing. Sophie's words were exactly what she had been hoping to hear but hadn't dared expect. Jonathan reached for both Sophie's and Ebony's hands. Sophie, are you sure? Marriage is a big change. Daddy, Miss Ebony has been taking care of us for almost a year. She makes you happy, she makes me happy, and she loves us. What else matters? Angela wiped tears from her eyes. That little girl is wise beyond her years. After dinner, Tyler and Sophie performed their routine for Mrs. Rodriguez. The combination of Tyler's athletic grace and Sophie's elegant chairwork was stunning. Remarkable, Mrs. Rodriguez said when they finished. I would love to have you both in our adaptive program. We're planning a showcase in 2 months. Would you be interested in performing? Tyler and Sophie looked at each other and screamed with joy. I'll take that as a yes, Mrs. Rodriguez laughed. Later, after their guests had gone home, the three of them sat in the garden watching the stars. Ebony, Jonathan said quietly, Sophie's right. We have been waiting to protect her, but maybe we've been waiting too long. What are you saying? I'm saying that I love you, Sophie loves you, and life is too short to wait for the perfect moment. Sophie reached for both their hands. Is Daddy about to propose? I think he might be, Ebony whispered, her heart pounding. Jonathan slipped off his chair and knelt beside Ebony's garden chair. Ebony Johnson, will you marry me and become Sophie's mom and my wife? Yes, Ebony said through happy tears. Yes, of course yes. Sophie clapped her hands together. Finally. Now we can plan the wedding dance. As Jonathan slipped a beautiful ring onto Ebony's finger, a ring he had been carrying for weeks, waiting for the right moment, all three of them knew that their family was finally complete. "When should we have the wedding?" Sophie asked practically. "How about right after your dance showcase?" Jonathan suggested. "That way Tyler and his family can celebrate with us." "Perfect," Sophie declared. "Our family deserves the biggest celebration ever." 1 month before the dance showcase and 2 weeks before their wedding, Ebony woke up with butterflies in her stomach. Everything was happening so fast, and yet it felt exactly right. She found Jonathan in the kitchen making coffee, already dressed for his morning run. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek as he handed her a cup. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Actually, no. I kept thinking about something." Ebony sat down at the kitchen island, concerned by his serious tone. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. But there's something I need to tell you, something I should have said earlier." Before he could continue, Tyler burst through the back door, already in his dance clothes. "Good morning, Mr. Pierce." "Good morning, Miss Ebony. Is Sophie awake? We need to practice our lifts today." "She's still sleeping, Tyler." "Give her another hour," Ebony said, smiling at his enthusiasm. "Okay. I'll warm up in the studio. Oh, and my mama said to tell you the wedding cake samples will be ready this afternoon." After Tyler disappeared toward the dance studio, Jonathan sat down across from Ebony. "What did you want to tell me?" she asked. Jonathan took a deep breath. "The night I met Tyler, when I decided to help his family, it wasn't just because of Sophie." "What do you mean?" "I mean I was watching you with the children that day, seeing how naturally you cared for others, how you made everyone feel safe and valued. I think I was already falling in love with you then." Ebony felt her cheeks warm. "Jonathan, I need you to know that my feelings for you aren't just about gratitude or convenience. I love you, Ebony. The real you. Your kindness, your strength, your laugh, the way you make everything better just by being there. I love you too. But why are you telling me this now? Are you having second thoughts about the wedding?" "No, exactly the opposite. I'm telling you because I want to make sure you know this is real. Not just a situation that evolved naturally, but a choice I'm making every day because I can't imagine my life without you." Sophie's voice came from the intercom. "Miss Ebony, can you help me get ready? Tyler's making noise in the studio and I want to dance." Ebony pressed the button. "I'll be right up, sweetness." As she stood to go upstairs, Jonathan caught her hand. "We're doing the right thing, aren't we? Getting married, becoming a family." "Jonathan Pierce, are you getting cold feet 2 weeks before our wedding?" "Not cold feet. Just want to make sure you're not." Ebony leaned down and kissed him softly. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Have you ever had a moment when you realized someone loved the real you, not just the idea of you? If this story is making you believe in true love, please subscribe and tell us about your most romantic moment in the comments. An hour later, the dance studio was alive with music and movement. Tyler and Sophie were working on a complex routine that incorporated lifts where Tyler would support Sophie as she moved out of her wheelchair for brief, beautiful moments. "Ready?" Tyler asked, positioning himself beside Sophie's chair. "Ready," Sophie confirmed, gripping the chair's armrests. Tyler carefully helped Sophie lift herself from the chair, supporting her weight as she extended her arms and legs in a graceful pose. For those few seconds, she looked like she was floating. "Beautiful," Ebony called out. "Tyler, remember to communicate with Sophie before each transition." "Right." "Sophie, ready for the turn?" "Yes." Tyler guided Sophie through a gentle turn while supporting her, then helped her settle back into her wheelchair for the next sequence. "That was perfect," Jonathan said from the doorway. "Mrs. Rodriguez is going to be amazed." "Daddy, do you think people will understand that this isn't about me trying to walk? It's about showing what I can do?" Jonathan felt his throat tighten with emotion. His daughter had grown so wise, so confident. "Sophie, anyone who watches you dance will see strength and beauty and joy. That's all that matters." Tyler nodded seriously. "Plus, our routine shows that dancing isn't about what your body looks like. It's about what your heart feels like. Ebony felt tears prick her eyes. These children understood something about art and life that many adults never learned. Speaking of hearts feeling things, Tyler said with a grin, "Miss Ebony, are you nervous about marrying Mr. Pierce?" "A little," Ebony admitted. "But good nervous." "What's good nervous?" Sophie asked. "It's when you're nervous because something wonderful is about to happen, not because something bad might happen." Tyler nodded knowingly. "Like how I felt before Destiny's surgery. Scared but excited." Exactly like that. Jonathan watched his soon-to-be wife interact with the children and felt his heart expand. She had such a gift for explaining complex emotions in ways that made sense to young minds. "Tyler," Jonathan said, "your mother mentioned that you wanted to ask me something about the wedding." Tyler's face lit up. "Yes. Sophie and I want to know if we can perform at your wedding reception. We've been working on a special routine." "What kind of routine?" Ebony asked. "A celebration dance," Sophie explained. "About families coming together and love being stronger than anything. We want to show everyone how happy we are that you're getting married," Tyler added. Jonathan and Ebony exchanged glances. The idea of Tyler and Sophie performing at their wedding felt perfect. "We would be honored," Ebony said. "Really?" Sophie squealed. "Really. But you'll have to show us the routine first." Tyler and Sophie looked at each other with excitement. "We've been practicing it secretly," Sophie confessed. "It's a surprise." "Well, I guess we'll have to wait for the wedding to see it," Jonathan said. As the morning continued with dancing and laughter, Jonathan felt a deep sense of contentment. In 2 weeks, he would marry the woman he loved, surrounded by the children who had brought them together. Tyler and his family had become as essential to their happiness as breathing. "Ebony," he said during a break while the children worked on their secret wedding routine in the corner, "thank you." "For what?" "For believing in us. For believing in Sophie. For making our house feel like home. Jonathan, you and Sophie made me feel like I belonged somewhere for the first time in my life. I should be thanking you." Tyler looked up from where he was adjusting Sophie's chair. "You're both silly. You should be thanking us for being so awesome that we brought you together." Sophie giggled. "Tyler's right. We're the real heroes of this story." Jonathan and Ebony looked at each other and burst out laughing. "Leave it to the children to put everything in perspective." "You're absolutely right," Ebony said. "You two are definitely the heroes." "Good," Tyler said with satisfaction. "Now come see our wedding dance. I think you're going to love it." 1 week before the dance showcase and 1 week before the wedding, everything that could go wrong seemed to happen at once. It started when Sophie woke up with a fever and couldn't get out of bed. "I can't be sick now," Sophie whispered to Ebony, tears streaming down her face. "The showcase is in 7 days. Tyler's been practicing so hard." "Sure, sweetness," Ebony said, adjusting the cool cloth on Sophie's forehead. "We'll get you better. Dr. Martin is coming this afternoon." Jonathan paced the hallway outside Sophie's room, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, I understand the wedding flowers can't be delivered until Saturday morning now." "Fine. Yes, that's cutting it close, but we'll make it work." He hung up and found Ebony in the doorway. "How is she?" he asked quietly. "Fever's still high, but she's resting." "Jonathan, you look stressed. The wedding coordinator just told me that 3 vendors have had scheduling conflicts. The flowers, the cake, and the music equipment all have problems." Ebony felt her own stress rising. "Maybe we should postpone." "No," Jonathan said firmly. "We've waited long enough. We'll figure this out." Downstairs, Tyler sat in the dance studio alone, practicing his routine over and over. He was trying not to cry, but the thought of performing without Sophie was breaking his heart. "Tyler." Angela appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing here so early?" "Mama, Sophie's sick. What if she can't dance at the showcase? What if I have to perform alone?" Angela sat down beside her son. "Baby, sometimes things don't go the way we plan. But that doesn't mean they can't still be beautiful. But our routine is perfect with Sophie. Without her, it's just me dancing." "Tyler, remember when Destiny was sick and you danced outside Mr. Pierce's house every day?" You weren't dancing for yourself then. You were dancing for love. Tyler looked up at his mother with understanding dawning in his eyes. You mean I can dance for Sophie even if she can't dance with me? Exactly. Love doesn't stop just because circumstances change. Don't you think the strongest love is the kind that adapts to whatever life throws at it? If this story is reminding you of love's resilience, please subscribe and share how you've seen love overcome obstacles. By afternoon, Dr. Martin had examined Sophie and delivered mixed news. It's just a virus, he told Jonathan and Ebony. She'll be fine in a few days. But I wouldn't recommend any strenuous activity for at least a week. Sophie had overheard from her bed. A week. But the showcase is in 7 days. Sophie, Dr. Martin said gently, dancing in your condition could make you much sicker. After the doctor left, Sophie cried harder than she had since her accident. All the progress, all the hope, all the excitement, and now she might miss the most important performance of her life. Tyler appeared in her doorway, his face determined. Sophie, I have an idea. What? She asked through her tears. What if we change our routine? What if instead of us dancing together, I dance for you? You can be there, in your chair, and I'll tell the story of our friendship through dance. Sophie wiped her eyes. But you worked so hard on our partner routine. Sophie, the routine was never about the moves. It was about showing people that friendship and love can make anything possible. I can still show that. Ebony felt her heart squeeze as she watched Tyler comfort Sophie. This boy had such a generous spirit. Tyler, that's a beautiful idea, she said. But only if Sophie feels comfortable with it. Sophie was quiet for a long moment. Tyler, what if people think I'm just sitting there? What if they don't understand that I'm part of the performance? Then I'll make sure they understand. I'll dance the story of how a girl in a wheelchair taught a homeless boy that strength comes from the heart, not from what your body can do. Jonathan appeared behind Ebony, having overheard the conversation. Tyler, that might be even more powerful than your original routine. Really? Sophie asked hopefully. Really? Sophie, sometimes the most important thing we can do is let others show their love for us. Over the next few days, as Sophie slowly recovered, Tyler worked tirelessly to adapt their routine. Instead of partnering with Sophie, he created a dance that told their story, with Sophie as the inspiration rather than the co-performer. Ebony found herself falling even more in love with both children as she watched Tyler's dedication and Sophie's grace in accepting the change. Ebony, Jonathan said one evening as they sat in the garden, watching Tyler and Sophie handle this setback makes me realize something. What's that? We've been so worried about everything being perfect for our wedding, but what matters is that we're getting married. The details are just details. Are you saying we should elope? Ebony teased. No, I'm saying that whether the flowers arrive on time or the cake is perfect doesn't matter. What matters is that at the end of the day, we'll be married and our family will be complete. Ebony leaned against his shoulder. I love you for seeing it that way. I love you for helping me see it that way. The night before the showcase, Sophie was feeling much better but still weak. She sat in the dance studio watching Tyler practice his solo routine, which was now a beautiful tribute to their friendship. Tyler, it's perfect, she said when he finished. It tells our whole story. Are you sure you're okay with not dancing? I'm sure. Tomorrow, I'll be there cheering you on, and everyone will see that sometimes the best way to support someone you love is to let them shine. Tyler hugged her carefully. Sophie, you're the best friend I've ever had. You too, Tyler. And you know what? This routine is going to be even more special because it's about love instead of just dancing. Jonathan and Ebony watched from the doorway, their hearts full as they saw how beautifully the children had handled their first real challenge. They're going to be okay, Ebony whispered. We all are, Jonathan replied, pulling her close. Tomorrow's going to be perfect, isn't it? Tomorrow's going to be exactly what it needs to be. And somehow, that felt even better than perfect. The day of the dance showcase dawned bright and clear. Sophie woke up feeling much stronger, though still not quite ready for dancing. She was excited rather than disappointed as she got dressed in her beautiful costume. Miss Ebony, do you think Tyler's nervous? Sophie asked as Ebony helped her into her wheelchair. I think he's excited, Ebony replied, adjusting Sophie's hair ribbon. He gets to tell everyone about his amazing best friend. Downstairs, Tyler was indeed excited rather than nervous. He had practiced his routine so many times that it felt like breathing. But more importantly, he understood exactly what story he wanted to tell. You ready, son? Jonathan asked, straightening Tyler's costume. I'm ready, Mr. Pierce. This is going to be the best performance ever. I know it is. The family arrived at the community theater early. Mrs. Rodriguez met them at the stage door with a warm smile. Sophie, how are you feeling? Much better, thank you. I can't wait to watch Tyler dance. Tyler, are you ready for your solo debut? Tyler nodded confidently. I'm going to tell everyone about Sophie and how she taught me that strength comes from the heart. Mrs. Rodriguez felt tears prick her eyes. That sounds perfect. The theater filled quickly with families and community members. Angela, Destiny, and several neighbors from Tyler's apartment building sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Jonathan pushed Sophie's wheelchair to a special spot at the side of the stage where she could see everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Rodriguez announced from the stage, our next performer is Tyler Washington. Tyler will be performing a dance he choreographed himself, dedicated to his best friend Sophie Pierce. The piece is called Strength of Heart. Tyler took his position on stage as the music began. For the first few moments, he moved slowly, showing loneliness and searching. Then his movements became more hopeful as he gestured toward Sophie, showing how their friendship had begun. As the routine progressed, Tyler's dancing told the complete story of two children who found strength in each other despite their different challenges. His movements showed Sophie's grace from her wheelchair, his own journey from homelessness to hope, and the family that had grown around their friendship. When Tyler reached the climax of the routine, he moved to center stage and performed a sequence that seemed to defy gravity. But instead of showing off, every leap and turn was directed toward Sophie, making it clear that his strength came from their bond. The audience was completely silent, captivated by the beauty and emotion of Tyler's performance. When the music ended, Tyler took his bow and then ran to Sophie's side, taking her hand as the applause thundered through the theater. That was incredible, Tyler, Sophie said, tears of joy streaming down her face. We did it together, Tyler replied, squeezing her hand. The standing ovation continued for several minutes, with many audience members wiping away tears. Mrs. Rodriguez returned to the stage. Tyler and Sophie, that was one of the most moving performances I've ever seen. You've shown us that art is about connection, not perfection. Sometimes the most powerful moments come from love expressed simply and purely. If this performance touched your heart, please subscribe and tell us about a time when someone dedicated their talents to showing you love. After the showcase, the Pierce mansion was filled with celebration. The Washington family, Mrs. Rodriguez, and several new friends from the dance program had come for dinner and dancing. Tyler, you were amazing, Destiny said, spinning around the living room. I want to learn to dance like that. I'll teach you, Tyler promised. But first, we have something else to celebrate. Sophie wheeled herself to the center of the room. Everyone, tomorrow Miss Ebony and Daddy are getting married. The room erupted in cheers and applause. And Tyler and I have a special wedding present for them, Sophie continued. Tyler grinned and moved to the sound system. We've been working on this secretly. As music filled the room, Tyler and Sophie began their wedding routine. This time, Sophie was able to participate fully, her strength having returned enough for their partnered movements. The dance was a celebration of love, family, and new beginnings. The routine incorporated everyone's story: Tyler's journey from dancing alone on the street to performing on stage, Sophie's transformation from sadness to joy, and Jonathan and Ebony's love that had brought them all together. When they finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. That was beautiful, Ebony said, hugging both children. Thank you. It's perfect for tomorrow, Jonathan added, his voice thick with emotion. Angela stood up, raising her glass of sparkling cider. I'd like to make a toast. To the Pierce family, who showed us that kindness can change everything. To Tyler and Sophie, who proved that friendship knows no boundaries. And to Jonathan and Ebony, who are about to start the most beautiful chapter of their love story. To family, everyone chorused, raising their glasses. The next morning dawned perfect for a wedding. Despite all the vendor complications, everything came together beautifully. The flowers arrived just in time, the cake was perfect, and the music equipment worked flawlessly. Sophie, as maid of honor, looked radiant in her lavender dress as she rolled down the aisle ahead of Ebony. Tyler, as ring bearer, walked proudly beside her, carrying the rings on a satin pillow. When Jonathan saw Ebony walking toward him in her simple but elegant wedding dress, he felt his breath catch. She was beautiful, but more than that, she looked happy. Completely, radiantly happy. Dearly beloved, the minister began, we are gathered here today to celebrate the marriage of Jonathan and Ebony, and the joining of their family. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. When they exchanged vows, both spoke not just about their love for each other, but about their commitment to Sophie, Tyler, and the extended family they had created. I promise to love you, to support Sophie's dreams, and to keep our home open to all the people who need family, Ebony said, tears streaming down her face. I promise to love you, to be the father Sophie deserves, and to never forget that the best families are built on love, not just blood, Jonathan replied. When they kissed as husband and wife, Tyler and Sophie cheered loudly from the front row, making everyone laugh. At the reception, Tyler and Sophie performed their wedding dance to thunderous applause. But the most touching moment came when Jonathan asked Sophie for a dance, and she reached up from her wheelchair to waltz with her father while Ebony danced beside them with Tyler. As the evening wound down, the newlyweds sat in the garden with Sophie between them. Are you happy, sweetheart? Jonathan asked his daughter. I'm more than happy, Daddy. I'm complete. Ebony took Sophie's hand. So am I, Sophie. So am I. Tyler appeared from the house, carrying Destiny piggyback, with Angela following behind. We have to go home now, Tyler said, but we'll see you tomorrow, right? Every day, Jonathan promised. Your family now. As the Washington family prepared to leave, Tyler turned back one more time. Mr. Pierce, do you remember when I used to dance outside your gate? Of course. I was hoping for a miracle for Destiny. But I got so much more than that. I got a family. Ebony felt her heart overflow as she watched Tyler hug Sophie goodbye. I love you too, Tyler. Later that night, as Jonathan and Ebony sat alone in their garden as husband and wife, they reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them together. A year ago, did you ever imagine this? Ebony asked. Never. I was just trying to help my daughter heal. And I was just looking for a job. Now look at us. Married, with 2 children who've taught us as much as we've taught them. Ebony leaned against her husband's shoulder. Do you think we'll have more children of our own someday? Maybe. But Sophie and Tyler will always be our first children, the ones who made us a family. I love that, Ebony said softly. Inside the house, Sophie lay in her bed, looking up at the ceiling with a smile. Tomorrow Tyler would come over, and they would dance together. Her father and Ebony were married and happy. Destiny was healthy and strong. But most importantly, Sophie finally understood something her accident had tried to teach her. True strength didn't come from what your body could do. It came from the love you shared and the courage to keep believing in beautiful possibilities. As she drifted off to sleep, Sophie could already imagine the adventures that awaited their family. And for the first time since her accident, she couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. Outside her window, the moon shone down on the dance studio where 2 children had learned that the most beautiful performances come from the heart. And in the garden, 2 people who had found unexpected love sat planning a future filled with laughter, dancing, and the kind of family that grows not from obligation, but from choice. The Pierce mansion was no longer just a house where a sad girl lived. It was a home where love had multiplied, where dreams came true, and where a homeless boy's dancing had created the most beautiful love story of all. The end.